Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Why, hello there and welcome. Oops, I do need more audio. Mr. Potter, if you would.
Hold on.
Thank you very much.
Better?
No.
Better?
No.
Better?
No. Yes. Oh, no, a little down, little down, little down. Little over the right, over
Really?
the right.
Really, we should have...
Right there. Okay.
We should have had this figured out before.
Yes, we should have.
There.
This is totally unprofessional. And good morning.
Yes.
Good morning. Mr. Potter's here. It's a Wednesday. His rag hits the street. Yep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We can talk about that later if you'd like.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Because there's other stuff I want to talk about.
Okay.
Did you know this? I just was scrolling through the Daily News Nuggets today, and this is... You know, listen to Republicans, again, you would think that...
Well, why are you doing that?
You can't help
Oh, yeah, that's
it.
true.
They're
It's
so
true. They're being
damn
right
loud.
in your skull, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so it says the U.S. budget deficit is down almost 38% through July. It is... and. What is it? It's broadcast forecast that the annual deficit will be $670 billion when the budget year ends next month, far below last year's over $1 trillion. It would mark the first year that the gap between spending and revenue has been below $1 trillion since, guess when? Since Barack Obama was elected president.
Huh. Well, there you go. Yeah.
So,
and yet they're still talking like on the Sunday shows about $1 trillion deficits, right?
So and nobody calls them on it. I mean, like moderators just and so jeez. So
that's actually a very common David Gregory debating tactic.
So the reality is that Republicans have a very I don't know. They have a lot of aid through media in help in not necessarily Fox. I mean, in just asleep at the switch media who like to keep the craziness going because it gives them a narrative. Yeah. And the job of educating the American people, which I guess is what media is ultimately supposed to do.
Actually, mostly it's to sell advertisements.
Well, I know,
but you are supposed to break those ads up from time to time with actual fact-based content.
The content is supposed to be factually based, and if you were to quiz most Americans, including me, I didn't know that. Yeah. Why didn't I know that?
Yeah. In fact, it's worse than that. It's not just a matter of some of your listeners may be aware that I think it was PolitiFact. I can't remember, one of those fact-checking outfits. Eric Cantor was on talking about how the deficit was growing.
Yes,
not just above $1 trillion, but actually growing. And PolitiFact called that half true because even though it's shrinking right now, projections say that if current trends continue and blah 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 blah, like at some point a few years down the road, it may resume growing again. So they gave him half credit for what might be a future
happen.
trend.
No, if they're dealing in fact, they're supposed to deal with.
Yeah. So half of their little post was, well, actually, it's shrinking, and if you interpreted his statement to mean that it was growing when it is in fact shrinking, then it would be untrue. However, And of course, they call up his office, and his office says, "Well, no, he really meant to say."
He
and so
really
they give him,
meant
and so
to say,
they, so they give him credit for that. Yeah. So it's not even just a matter of we've both been in this situation. A savvy politician says something that you're sitting there in real time thinking, God, that doesn't seem right, but you can't quite put your finger on
what's
wrong. What I mean. So
right.
I want to have some a bit of sympathy for a George Stephanopoulos or whatever in that moment. But here's PolitiFact, who has all the time in the world at his disposal. And they sort of talk themselves out of actually calling the situation as it is. So it's not just a matter of people letting stuff slide because they can't. It's sitting back in deliberation on sort of wanting to bend over backwards to be this sort of priest class who doesn't, is above the fray and doesn't wish to, call a falsehood a falsehood.
Well, we are ill-served. That's all I want to say. Ill-served.
Yes. On the other hand, the quality of our sports journalism is the best in the world. Which, if you think about it, is really messed up.
I think it
people
is.
know more about like the ACL of their starting linemen than they do of the fiscal health of their nation. It's.
Ooh.
Uh-oh.
Lori. Watch it, because her subject line is, I must be thin-skinned. Well, okay, so this happened. I was just looking at some email.
I was prattling on. Lynn was checking out other media, see if there was something more interesting going on. That's cool, whatever. I know when I've been insulted. That's fine. That's good. Why don't you read that email and I'll go check my smartphone and see what's on Slate.
Well, no, I knew you were holding down the fort, and I hadn't had it. That's really what was happening.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Go ahead, read your thing.
No. I just want to say that. Ooh,
this is from yesterday's broadcast,
this is, I think she's a little annoyed at me and Tom.
Okay.
Well, I said yesterday, I was so excited about this yarn bomb of the bridge.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I thought that would be so cool.
Yeah, and
I don't
you're
think it is.
disappointed.
Yeah,
what did you expect? That it was going to be all like wrapped up and
totally
like a Christo thing of yarn? Like,
yeah. Because I've seen other yarn bombings around the world.
Yeah.
And a yarn bomb means you look and it's nothing but yarn.
Yeah. And this is sort of more like yarn, like panels kind of thing.
So what?
Man.
That's not a yarn bomb. I am so sorry. I am so disappointed. And so I said so, yes. I was so excited about getting back to Pittsburgh and seeing the bridge. And then it was like finding out there was no Santa Claus. I really got upset.
But you're Jewish. So it was worse than that.
No, I actually knew about that.
It was even worse than finding out there was no Santa Claus. Okay, and Tom was on yesterday.
Well, no, he wasn't.
Oh, okay.
But I said something, and then Lori thought it was okay, and I had said I didn't think so. And then Tom said it was, Tom tends to get...
No, you don't say.
Hyperbolic.
Yeah,
he said it was hideous, said it was a monstrosity, he said it was an outrage to humankind. He said, I don't know.
He made fun of crafters.
He made fun of crafters.
He made fun of crafters.
Shit.
Did he? Is that what got your goat? So anyway, he
yarn bomb his head if he's not careful.
Yeah. So Tom, anyway, I just want you to say, because she says Thomas pompous.
But I like listening to him anyway.
Anyway, different people and their opinions are what makes your show what it is. Aww. Which is what?
That's true.
Doesn't say anything. Lori,
different people makes your show what it is.
Well, you know what? I don't agree with everyone on my show.
Yeah.
No, I hate that kind of. I think the show is actually too, monochromatic. Well, I see they added a few things on the top supports. I mean, yesterday they closed the bridge down to put, a few more Afghans up. It's stupid.
A few more Afghans.
Did Tom say or did I say? It looks like somebody hung out there, washed a bunch of Afghans and hung them over, the side of the fence to dry. I don't know.
As a commitment to renewable energy. Yeah.
No, I know a lot of people put a lot of work into that, but I think they misled us.
I have to say, I mean, this thing is it's a national story. So
How is it a national story?
I mean, like Time Magazine had something about it.
It did?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think they probably were expecting something different, too.
No, it just came out the other day, like yesterday or the day before. Can't remember. Man.
No.
You
Nope.
are tough.
Well, I have standards. I mean,
Hey,
you know
those
what?
people put yarn over a bridge. What have you done?
I was willing to knit. I just found out too late. I wanted to take part in it. I thought it was so neat. But it isn't what it's supposed to be. You've seen yarn bombs. They completely cover the thing that is being bombed.
Yeah.
So you yarn bomb a car. You have a car that looks like it's made of yarn.
Yeah.
You yarn bomb a bridge. It looks like the bridge is made of yarn.
Yeah.
That bridge looks like it's made of steel.
I probably would feel better driving across it, though. Just...
Well,
actually, now that I'm just kind of looking out the window as you were talking. I really wasn't paying attention. And, they should like yarn bomb some of the tops of these buildings and make them look like little, little knit caps on the tops of buildings.
Now that would be
that would be
cool.
cute.
That
And they
would
could
be
be little Steelers caps, like when Steelers season begins. Like there could be one over the Highmark building, or this little one. I can't remember the name of this building. I'm blank on it. The Carlton building. It's the guy. It's sort of got that weird little red onion dome.
oh
on the
no,
top
but you
to
don't
it.
want to cover that up. That's
Yeah.
too beautiful. But here, I got an idea. Then you're right. Let's cover up the top of the U.S.
UPMC building.
Yeah, UPMC, and cover up those damn
Just put a
letters.
little- No, then they'd make you put in a monogrammed UPMC on the cap or whatever. Actually, you could probably just take the hat off of Romoff's head and stretch it over that building.
That's true too.
Probably a little too stretched out to fit perfectly, but
Oh man. All right. Let's stop.
Anyway,
We'll stop.
that would be cute. Don't you think that would be cute though?
It would,
Like people
it
would
would.
come in and they would see them. It would be like
I
it'd be like
think-
little beer cozies or something over all the downtown buildings. Like that would be great on Monday Night Football or something.
Yeah. Beer cozies?
Those little, whatever.
Yeah,
You've
but
done those little yarn
yeah,
beer
yeah.
cozies. You've seen those or whatever.
No, I
Well,
haven't.
Okay.
I've
Well, whatever.
seen tea cozies.
Well, whatever. Or little hats.
But
Just it'd be
cozies
nice
are meant to keep things warm. They're not meant to
Yeah,
keep, you
I
don't
know.
want a beer
Yeah.
warm.
No, I think it's insulating. That's all. It insulates.
It retains whatever is
yeah.
there. Okay. Well. So, you knew this was going to happen, that these jerks would come in from Brazil and buy Heinz. And remember when they bought it, everybody said, "Oh, don't worry, everything's fine." They're 350 Pittsburghers out of really good jobs. Those were really good jobs. 350 families.
Yeah.
Kaplooey.
Yeah.
And apparently blindsided by it.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
But we all knew
no,
it was going to happen. So
You don't know who.
Oh, you don't know it's going to be you. I see what you're saying.
I was saying, we were reading that ridiculous memo from the Cleveland plain dealer the other day. You are all to stay home. We will call you between the hours of 9 and 10.
Yeah, although leave it to, I think that's been topped by the guy who runs Patch, that Tim Armstrong guy. Did you hear about this?
No.
So Patch.com, these sort of hyper-local news sites. There's some in the Pittsburgh area.
Yes.
Owned now by AOL. Or no, it was originally owned by AOL, and now it's the Huffington Post and whatever. So they've fallen on hard times. And the guy's got all of his 3,000 employees across the country on this massive conference call. And he fires somebody on the phone. One of his assistants, where he was sitting, was took a picture of him, and he was like, "Abel, don't take a picture. You're fired. Get out." And there's just this awkward 10-second silence, and then he starts launching into his corporate spiel about how it's all hands on deck and we're going to make things happen for.
Oh, wait a minute. So he fired the guy because the guy was taking a picture?
The guy was taking a picture of him, which apparently this guy has done before to document things. And the funny thing is at the same time he's saying this, he's talking about how he wants to be totally transparent and he doesn't want there to be any secrets and da-da-da-da-da.
Well,
and then he fires somebody for taking a picture of him.
Yeah, but that's transparent.
I guess he did it in front of 3,000 people. Yeah, I mean, it's...
Can't get much more transparent.
Yeah, so there you go. So it was the Cleveland thing, everybody had to stay home and get fired in the privacy of their own living rooms. And here you've got a guy getting fired in front of all the, like everybody else they work with. This is pretty stunning. Anyway, the Heinz thing.
Jeez. Well, I can't remember where I heard it. Yeah. Oh, I do now. I was driving through America's Dairyland, and I was listening to Wisconsin Public Radio,
right.
where a lot of people who talk like this call in shows.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful. It's public radio as it should be, because it's all these sort of call-in shows about all these topics, everything from intellectual stuff to down, it's just great. Exactly what public radio should be. And it certainly is not around here. Anyway, it is not.
Okay. You're driving through America's Dairyland.
And they're talking about something involving the economy. And some guy calls up and he says, I'll tell you what kind of economy we have in this country now. It's a part-time economy. Mm-hmm. He says, and you cannot have a strong country with a part-time economy. You cannot have a strong country where the only jobs being offered are essentially part-time jobs without benefits. And he's right, where you have to work 2 or 3 jobs. Oh, they're called full-time, some of them, but they're crap. And so even when you see, the unemployment rate has gone down, these jobs are crap. The jobs that Heinz cut yesterday, those jobs are not crap. Those jobs are jobs that pay a living wage. If 350 jobs get created in this city today, the odds are that they do not pay a living wage. This is not a sustainable.
Right.
This is not a sustainable model. It's sustainable for global corporations, but it's not sustainable for a nation that expects a certain level of quality of life.
Right.
I understand. If you look at what Heinz did, their ketchup and all the other crap they sell is not selling all that great. I mean, it's selling fine, but they're not making huge profits in North America anymore.
Because the market is mature. That's what they call it.
That's right. It's mature. So they're going over to where the adolescent markets are.
Right.
And the adolescent markets are hungry markets. And those markets like China and India and Brazil and all those countries, that's where the money's to be made. So from a business model, yeah. But this is true not just of ketchup and pickles.
Yeah.
It's true of every damn thing. So do we just come to terms with the fact that the America we knew is no more? We had our heyday, and everybody's got to drop it down. And if that's what we should do, then we need to stop pretending that we're something else, because people are still being treated as if their job is to consume and consume more and consume more. And our economy is still built on selling people crap that they don't need.
Right.
And now they can't afford.
Right.
Well, what the hell are we supposed to do?
I don't know. The flip side of that, the other side of that too, and I don't know the exact financing of the Heinz transaction, so I'm not sure how well this will apply here. But what the other thing that happens here is this was essentially, they took this company private. They essentially bought up the shares, the outstanding shares, and generally when you do that, you take on a lot of debt. This is like the Mitt Romney story, right? They go in, they take on debt, they buy the company up, and then they use the money they save by canning people to pay off the debt, which they used to buy the company up. Well, in a way, it's like, how is society as a whole? How is the economy actually any better off for that kind of transaction?
No, it's worse off.
Yeah,
it's worse off.
It's hard to justify that. Yeah, it's hard to justify.
The only people who make money then on all this Heinz deal now are
Shareholders.
Okay.
Yeah.
But and there was a guy I saw interviewed on local news last night. Just a guy walking down the street. They asked him what he thought. He had he knew. He said, whenever this kind of thing happens, he says, it's the little people who get hurt, and the big people are counting their money. They're looking at their stock price, and man, it's going up. And they're, this cannot hold. This is not going to work. And we have no political leadership in this regard. The American people they know something's wrong, but they don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And they are disgruntled and fearful and angry and ripe for demagoguery, which the Republicans are desperately trying to fill that role. Yeah. But the Democrats ain't doing anything either.
No, I mean, look at Cory Booker, for example. I mean, here's a guy, seems like a popular guy, great Twitter, pulled a woman out of a burning building, but totally in the back pocket of Wall Street. Just a total darling of the financial sector. Look at Barack Obama. He goes a few weeks ago to Amazon to talk about, what was that, 5,000 jobs that they were going to do. Well, I'm going to tell you something. A lot of those jobs are going to be warehouse jobs of exactly the job of exactly the kind you talk about. And I only found this out a month or so ago. Those warehouse jobs have been deeply problematic. There's one in the eastern part of Pennsylvania, and the Allentown Morning Call wrote a story a few years ago, which I didn't see until just a couple weeks back. And I mean, people were like dropping of heat exhaustion and stuff like that in this place. And there are similar complaints of other facilities in Great Britain. It's just 100-degree temperatures in there. And they keep these folks, they do this thing, which I've been in this position as well with some, after I got out of college with some of the leading corporate citizens here, which is they hire you as this temp and they keep you as a quote unquote temp for months going on into years until they finally decide, well, I guess we'll give this guy a job. And so a lot of these folks, again, they're making, $9, $10, $11 an hour as a temp, no benefits, can be dropped at any time with no expectation of unemployment or anything like that for a job that's going to be there. These aren't temps in the sense that, we only need somebody for a week. This is a warehouse. It's not picking up and moving. The job is going to be there. It's just a question of whether they feel like they want to commit to you or not. And those are the jobs that are being created by Amazon and that our own president goes out and talks up as this is the future.
Right.
This is the future, and it's supposed to be a good thing.
Well, you cannot, there's many things been written about the disappearing American middle class, but you can't. This is unsustainable.
Yeah.
This is unsustainable what's happening. And what Heinz did yesterday is just another part of it, and this one hit closer to home. But anyone in the working world, I mean, I in broadcasting, you in newspapers, we've seen it. We've seen this kind of contraction, and the guys who own these industries, they're doing real well.
Yeah, and Heinz is a perfect example of the company that gets built from the ground up over the course of many, many decades. And it's not as if, H.J. Heinz was very cognizant almost from day one of the global market. He was very interested in Asia, almost from the first. Really savvy guy, understood a consumer market, but also understood how to build and invest in a workforce. And I'm not saying the guy was perfect, but he was not bad by the standards of a turn of the century industrialist.
He was not a robber baron.
Yeah. No, he invested. Not. I mean, all kinds of
look at the social welfare stuff he did over on the north side.
Exactly.
No, he was a good man and a good businessman.
So now here we are, and it's like you say, we built up this inheritance over the course of many decades. And within my own lifetime,
you're watching it be squandered.
I'm just watching it, and the only reason it's sustainable now is because there was so much of it built up in the first place. So we chisel it down, we trade it down, and you can get away with that because because you have sort of built up enough sort of communal wealth. We have the foundations, we have these things to kind of ease some of this stuff. But sooner or later, you're right. I mean, you eat your seed corn and then you're done.
I was, again, back in Wisconsin, so I'm driving through my some of my old neighborhood, and I was with my sister-in-law, and I said, look at these homes. These are the homes where my friends lived. This is where I'd sleep over here and that. I said, do you notice anything, what strikes you about these houses? And she said, they're so small. Mm-hmm. And the kind of homes that we used to live in were 1/4 the size of what is considered a normal home now. Go ahead.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
TJ from Greensburg.
Hi.
Listen, I mean, we're doing it to ourselves. You know, all the commiserating and everything you guys are doing, I agree with. But when you look at it, you know, people love buying from Amazon.
Yeah.
And they'll keep doing it.
Yep.
And you know, it's the same. It's the same with so many things in our culture. You know, things seem to be getting worse, but yet the very behavior that is putting us in the situation that we bemoan so much, we just keep participating.
Yeah.
Well, but it stems from the fact that they made us into, and this comes from those tiny houses I was looking at that we thought those were middle class houses. I guess they were not hugely rich people, but they were people with good jobs where the father went to work and the mother stayed home, and everybody was, you know, it was that American, you know, dream that everybody. But people had a shot then, and nobody felt like they were poor, and they weren't, and nobody felt like they were missing anything. But since those homes were built, and they were built in the 40s and 50s, America and Americans have turned into a country and a culture in which the people are they exist for one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to be consumers, to consume. And if you are consuming all the time, so we're constantly being lured into wanting, desiring. We all know this. Mad Men is all this stuff. The reason, there weren't Mad Men much before the 50s. This is when all this crap took off, the selling of everything. And Americans turning into people whose job, patriotism now is about spending money.
Sure.
It's not about saving money. And in fact, saving money was not good. Spending money was all. But, and it was a time, though, when the banks were different, so the banks would still loan to people to help start up a little business. Banks don't do that anymore.
Well, that's largely based, and correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that has a lot of supply-side economics? Sure. You make the junk, and then you give them credit to buy the junk, and the credit's no good, and... wasn't that the whole Reagan philosophy?
But I think it's pretty hard. I think it's a little harsh to blame the people, because the people don't see this coming. People are we're all just living our lives.
Yeah, but you don't have to. I think there's some truth to what PJ's saying, which is that you don't necessarily have to watch the television. You don't have to some extent, we do choose to expose ourselves to these very messages that bombard us. And I agree with you that it is ever present, but you can do things to sort of minimize your own. And I'm not trying to blame the victim here. I'm saying, to the extent that we still have some autonomy and agency in our own lives, we do have a responsibility for how we spend the money that we've got. And PJ is exactly right. I don't have to shop at Amazon, and I try not to too much. But to be honest with you, part of the complexity here is that as Amazon puts some of these for example, booksellers into a death spiral, it becomes harder and harder to buy the book anywhere else from Amazon, even if you yourself weren't the person buying from Amazon. It's all your neighbors who do it, and now you're stuck in the same boat that they are.
Well, it's a great Walmart equation. That's exactly what Walmart did. They dropped prices so low. People wanted the junk that they were going to throw away in a year, but they wanted it, so the prices were so low that they put everybody else out of business. I will say this, though, and then I'll let you guys go. Thanks for your time. But, there is a twist, though. If you start looking at some, right now it has a lot to do with the hipsters and the younger generation, but there is a kind of back to basics thing going on.
I do see more
people canning again,
yes.
people gardening, people hanging clothes out to dry, and it's some part has to do with economics, but in large part it is just the simplification and getting away from all this BS.
I agree.
So I think that's the positive. The positive, if you want to take a positive away from it, that's the thing to look at.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, guys, see ya.
Thanks.
It's a great call.
Thanks.
It's a very good call.
Yeah, so we can opt to get off the...
So let's make our own ketchup now.
Well, I am seeing little signs. I saw, again, walking in Green Bay, I saw something that I thought was this huge, stupid-looking mailbox outside somebody's house. It looked like a little red barn. And I thought, geez. And then I looked closer, and it wasn't a mailbox. It was this lovely little contraption with a glass door that you could open, and inside were books. And there was this little sign on top about it being a neighborhood book exchange. Please take a book, and all that we ask is that you not necessarily return that book, but return a book. And there were children's books in there, and there were fiction. Yeah. There was fiction. That was just outside somebody's house.
Right.
And I also, right near my home here, there's somebody who has a sign outside saying, free garden. And they've got things out there that they're sticking out, maybe from their garden in the back. Help yourself, it says. Now, that bespeaks a certain good sense of, hey, guys, let's do this stuff together a little more.
Yeah.
Let's share.
Yeah.
And I've talked about this before. Why should we all have lawnmowers?
Yeah. Yes.
How often are they used? Yeah. Why should you all have, these bzzz and the blowers?
Yeah.
Why shouldn't a street have?
Well, no, there should be no leaf blowers at all.
No, I agree with that. They are the most noxious thing. Oh, it's a lovely Sunday afternoon. I think I'll sit outside and enjoy the peace and quiet. Hear the birds singing.
They also don't look any easier. To me, I've never used a leaf blower, but they look cumbersome and more.
They're awful.
They're more
and not
difficult
only
than
that,
raking.
They're total polluters in every way. In every way, noise, carbon, and remember rakes?
Yeah.
I use rakes. I do. You get blisters sometimes, but it's exercise too. So you pay somebody to use a leaf blower, then you drive yourself to LA Fitness or something and walk on a friggin' treadmill.
So
this is America.
We're getting into the Andy Rooney territory now. Might be a good time to take a break. Just reeling you back in. Because pretty soon it's going to be about whisk brooms. We'll be doing essays on whisk brooms. No. Commercial. Go to commercial.
Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com or call Lynn at 412-316-3381. Lynn Cullen Live will return in a moment.
It's Shadyside Arts Festival time. Don't forget to mark your calendars for the 16th Annual Shadyside Arts Festival, August 24th and 25th. And check out the newest Fiats from No. 1 Cochran Fiat. Pick up this week's Pittsburgh City Paper for more information. Available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania. And on the web at pghcitypaper.com. And on your smartphone with GPS-enabled listings at citypapermobile.com.
Don Juan is trying to be good. He's really trying. But hurry, because his manic search for redemption and love through a world dominated by women will last only until August 31st. Pict Theatre brings Don Juan Comes Back from the War, starring David Whalen, to the Henry Hayman Theatre at the Stephen Foster Memorial in Oakland. Call Pict Theatre at 412-561-6000 to book your tickets to this celebration of life, love, and lust.
Les Ludwig, your independent, self-financed, clean candidate for mayor of Pittsburgh. You've heard the saying, same old. If we don't change what we're doing, we can only expect the same results. Let's look at what the Democratic Party leadership of your lifetime is asking you to do on Election Day. They want you to forget that they and Ravenstall have not lived up to minority contracts and the jobs involved in it. If government promises work and jobs and wants to leave it for the next candidate, Will it ever get done? How can we trust Peduto and especially the leadership when they continue to act this way? Are they hiding something worse than Harper's misdeeds? Vote November 5th and remember, same old. Embrace change and work willingly with it. Think outside the party's box. Make Les Ludwig your mayor and join his march to clean government and keeping promises.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com.
Okay, so here we are. We're back again. And as soon as we went to break, Jess said, "What's a whisk broom?" Jess, they're little brooms.
Yeah.
They look like this, just like a little broom, like with bristles. You know, like a regular broom that you could hold in your hand.
Oh, a hand broom.
A hand broom, but it would be used. Do you remember what your mom used it for?
No.
You don't?
No,
you don't know what it was?
We didn't have. I mean, we didn't.
We had whisk
to the best of
brooms.
my knowledge. It was the 70s.
I'm thinking of things like you would use it to brush a jacket.
Yeah.
That was before lint rollers.
Yeah.
Brush a jacket. I suppose you could do the same to upholstered furniture. Mm-hmm. That's what a whisk broom was. And
she saw. Jess said she saw one on Downton Abbey.
Jesus, that wasn't that long ago. And then did you see where they? It's like. Oh shit!
I saw it on Downton Abbey.
They use for the suits, right?
Yeah, but and have you also seen the way they used to clean carpets, right?
I don't know.
Carpet beaters. You never saw those?
Mm.
You take a big carpet. They didn't have wall to wall. Take a carpet. You hang it outside, and you just beat the crap out of it. Right.
I've seen that on Downton Abbey. And the reason the brooms were so small, Jess, is because back in those days, people were only about 9 or 10 inches tall. So.
Speaking of history.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question.
All right, here we go.
I'm taking you back to the year 1776.
Yep.
Okay. And I'm going to name a founding father, too. I want you to give me the age of said founding father in 1776. Because, we venerate these people, right?
Sure, right.
Alexander Hamilton.
He was a youngin', I think, of that bunch. 31.
21.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, my 21-year-old son is home face down on the couch.
And yet, your kid isn't dumb enough to get himself into the duel, is he? So let's...
No. Oh, and speaking of the duel.
Yeah.
Aaron Burr.
Oh, yeah.
1776.
Yeah. Even younger, I would guess. 19.
Well, he's 20.
Okay.
So there you have it. 1776. Aaron Burr's 20.
Yeah.
Alexander Hamilton's 21. James Madison.
Older than those guys. 34?
25.
Really? Jeepers.
James Monroe.
I don't know.
18.
Wow. Oh, think about it. Yeah.
Jesus.
On the other hand...
Thomas Jefferson. You have a sense of that one, maybe.
No, I mean, probably all in that same ballpark, I would guess.
He was an old guy.
Was he?
33.
Oh. Huh, see, now I would have guessed him younger than Madison, for example.
No.
Just because sleeping with your hired help probably keeps you young.
Thomas Jefferson was 33. George Washington was an oldster. He was 44.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
John Adams was 40. Paul Revere was 41. Ben Franklin was the old one.
Yeah, Franklin.
He was 70 years old in 76.
Yeah.
And he still had a lot of
He could still drink any of them under the table.
And he was still screwing around and going. I mean, he was a piece of work.
Yeah.
But look at that.
In fairness to your son, he could kick the ass of any of those guys at a video game. I'm sure of it. Quake or anything. I mean, forget it.
That's the truth.
Forget it.
Well...
Grand Theft Auto.
But, in your head...
Take this, you Federalist. I got your Federalist papers right here.
Why are we laughing?
I don't know.
In our heads, though, it's interesting because in our heads...
Yeah.
These guys are all...
Because they all look starched in the portraits and everything.
Wigs.
Yeah.
But 19, 20, 21, 25, 33. Give me a break.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
Wow. Yeah. By the way, in the obits in the New York Times today, there was an obit for a woman historian who I'd never heard of, taught at MIT, who apparently caused quite a stir because she said she was the first to come out and say Jefferson was totally overrated. And like she spent a lot of time like really ripping into him, that even, to suggest that what he had written, all that prose we give him such credit for in the Declaration and
somebody
stuff.
Else's.
He said it was what anyone would have written in that, who was educated in that day and age. It was all this Enlightenment stuff. He said it. She said, in fact, if you look at certain things, I mean, the other youngsters, founding fathers, they edited about a quarter of it out. They changed words and did this and that. And they don't get any credit for any of that.
Oh, hey, look. You're telling me, the editor, about it?
Okay, all right. There, editors don't get it.
Do I get the award? No. Is my name included in the lawsuit? Yes.
That is the way it works.
Yep.
Okay.
Worst declaration ever.
PJ, Jess sent you.
Oh, look at that.
Jess, PJ sent you a picture of a whisk broom.
That's nice.
You want to see it?
Yeah,
Come on.
Here
it
over.
is.
Now, she could have.
Looks just like my mom's.
See?
Oh, yeah.
And it was it was this, it was a little, it was this big.
Oh, her grandma had one of those. There you go. Mm-hmm.
Aww.
You can still get them.
Sure.
I saw one at Home Depot the other day.
All right. Yeah, there you go.
They're nifty little things, whisk brooms.
This is exactly the outcome I was hoping to avoid. Just
talking about whisk brooms.
Yeah, exactly. Once again, every aspiration I have comes to naught.
Okay. Here's something I came across that really struck me as odd. So there's a manufacturer. We were talking about American business and how it.
Right.
And for all I know, this isn't an American company, but they manufacture sporting equipment.
Yeah.
And their name is Schutt Sports, S-C-H-U-T-T. It's a German name. Yeah. I don't know what it was. Schutt Sports. And they manufacture football helmets. And their helmets come with a label that warn. You mentioned lawyers. This is what made me think about this, because you know how it says,
not for use in athletic competition. Is that what it says?
Right. Quote, no helmet system can protect you from serious brain and or neck injuries, including paralysis or death.
Yeah.
To avoid these risks, do not engage in the sport of football.
Have fun.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
Do not engage in the sport of football.
When we bought a jogging stroller for our kid, and it said on the label, do not use this stroller while running.
Did it really?
Yeah. It was like not for use while running. Yeah.
So that's the same kind of thing.
Yeah. Because now it's your fault. I mean, that's all that is. Now it's your fault. I used a jogging stroller. I was out jogging, and this terrible thing happened. Well, did you read our disclosure that said you shouldn't use it while running?
But surely that can't stand up in the court because
it couldn't hurt, right? It couldn't hurt. They put a sticker on.
Yeah.
Maybe it swings a juror. Who knows?
Jeez.
Jogging stroller, not for use while jogging.
All right. So.
Yeah.
I heard this yesterday, too, and then I went looking for some hard copy, thinking I hadn't heard right. But, back to the Republicans.
Yeah.
And, how they are just hemorrhaging demographic groups,
Right.
Young people, any minority group, Asians, blacks, Hispanics, women. What do they got? We know what they have. They have old people.
Yeah.
And we just have to wait till old white people.
Yeah.
Guess what? They don't
even
have
the old white people are down there.
Listen to this. As the whites, just 28%. This doesn't don't break this down black and white. 28% of voters. This was a survey taken in July that nobody says is bull. Just 28% of voters, 65 and older, have a favorable view of the Republican Party.
Yeah.
28% of old people.
Yeah.
40% of old people have a favorable view of the Democrats. Okay, now, this is a total turnaround and then some.
Yeah.
From just 2 years ago.
Although I've always been a little surprised at previous Republican strength. I mean, how many times have I watched the Rick Santorums of the world get up and talk about the need to curtail Social Security benefits? You know, granted, the Republicans typically have said,
but that's a big
this wouldn't affect you retirees. It would affect the next generation.
Like,
but,
if they don't have children and grandchildren.
Yeah, exactly. It's very, very odd to me that they've ever done that well. But
okay, so.
Is that one of the reasons for it? Did they say?
No, the pollster says we have seen other voters pull back from the GOP, but among no group has this shift been as sharp as it is among seniors. Yeah. Now, here's the odd thing. Most seniors still say they plan to vote Republican in 2014. Not by much. They don't approve of them, but they'll still vote for them. What the hell is that about?
I don't know.
Okay, but that's just 46% to 41%.
Yeah, that's not the kind of margin you need.
But that's a 5-point margin.
Yeah.
That is down from a 21-point margin just 3 years ago. And it matters because seniors are the ones who, as we know, vote. The senior shift is an unexpected result. Large majorities of seniors agree with progressive economic policies, including protecting Medicare, raising working women's pay, expanding access to child care. Seniors also, majorities of seniors called the Republican Party extreme on aid to the poor, on immigration, on gay rights, on gun violence. Now, these aren't huge numbers. They're all over 50.
What's the demographic? What are they defining as seniors? 65. Okay, so consider this though, that what you're also seeing there is the first of the baby boomers starting to age into that group, right?
Tell me about it.
So sorry. But I mean, what you may be seeing there is less a change in attitudes amongst the old as the demographics of the elderly are changing. You're now getting the first wave of baby boomers coming in there who always had less, conservative viewpoints about some of those social issues or whatever. So, I mean, my father.
But I mean, all this bodes ill.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that's the total trend is.
What are they doing? And instead of doing what anyone with a brain in their head would do, which is moving toward these groups, they're, as Republicans just always tend to do, doubling down, getting even more crazy.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's a death wish.
I think it also reflects a few things. It reflects who the noisiest people are and where the money is.
Yeah.
Where are the conservative financiers who are writing the checks who represent moderate Republican principles? I don't know that there are such people in the way that there are the Koch brothers and some of these other, and the Scaifes and
but those business people are tending to give money now to the Democrats.
Yeah. Well, that's because
the Democrats don't shut down the government and destroy the economy, and they're not as ideological and nuts.
But that's as that happens, you see, then that only increases the influence that the Koch brothers have. As everybody else bails on you, you end up playing more and more to your base because who the hell else is gonna is gonna? I mean, they're in a sort of interesting little spiral there for sure.
So Lynn emailed that she saw a book exchange on her street in Overbrook, like the one I saw in Green Bay, and she's wondering where did this come from? That's a good story.
Yeah.
Why don't you get somebody
maybe Lynn should get in touch with me and tell me where it's at, and maybe we'll look into it.
Hey, Lynn, let me know where it is.
CPOTTER at PGHcitypaper.com.
You can give it to me, and I'll forward it to him.
Yeah.
Give me an address.
Yeah.
And maybe Potter and a crack reporter can.
But then that means I'll be in your neighborhood.
But speaking of these nutty Republicans, okay, so there's too much to talk about in regard to that. But, so they all go home. There's the big recess. Yeah. And they're afraid to have town hall
they're getting yelled at because they're getting yelled at by people. Like I said, you think.
So they're not calling the meetings. What cowards.
Yeah.
They go home to their constituents.
They loved it 3 years ago, and now they're terrified of it.
Yeah.
The genie is out of the old bottle.
Well, I know. So. Then you have, I mean, I hate to mention this, but all this talk in the, cable and stuff about, and because, Hillary, 2016, good Lord, people, that is like 3 years away, and we're subjected to this. But they're already, the Republicans are all over Iowa.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Santorum was in Iowa this weekend.
Yeah.
He was well received, I am told.
Oh, I'm sure he was.
They love him. And I read somewhere that, don't discount Rick Santorum.
Yeah, that's Brian York, I think, was making that argument in the National Review.
So the Iowa caucuses for the next president, they're like 900 days away, more than that.
And Santorum, very smartly, after the presidential election, campaigned actively. You may recall that Iowa State Supreme Court ruled in favor that said you have to allow marriage between same-sex couples, and he
got him recalled.
And he was very active in the campaign to recall the judges who were up for retention that voted for that, and it was a successful effort. So he has laid the groundwork.
But here's the thing. Historically, the Republican who wins in Iowa does not win the nomination.
That's interesting.
Because the Iowa caucus goes for the loons. And believe it or not, that does not include W or Romney. They go for the real loons. So you know who's going to win Iowa? Ted Cruz.
Could be. I mean, the thing about Iowa is it's a caucus system, not a primary.
Right.
And so what it tends to do is reward the people who have the best sort of ground game and the ability to turn out the most fervent supporters. So it does tend to err on the side of lunatics with batshit crazy supporters. So I think you do have to give Santorum a kind of edge up there.
Oh dear God in heaven.
We have to take another break, don't we?
I know.
I'm trying to.
And because we waited too long the last time.
Right.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I was saved by Chris and Jess. I was heading into a little over the top rant.
So let's go.
We're going to take another break. We'll be right back.
More is on the way with Lynn Cullen Live.
Come to Little's for all of your back-to-school needs. Little's has everything for all ages to stay in style for this upcoming school season. Check out the large selection from Doc Marten, Steve Madden, UGG, Clarks, Lely Kelly, New Balance, and much, much more. Don't forget to come visit this season's colorful handbag selection as well. Little Shoes, Pittsburgh's largest family shoe store, 5850 Forbes Avenue in Squirrel Hill.
Go to BarkBargains.com for great deals on gift cards from your favorite local restaurants, bars, museums, attractions, and shows. This week, great deals on gift cards to SIVA, tickets to PICT's Don Juan, Cadillac Ranch, and Crazy Mocha. Supplies are limited. BarkBargains.com, Pittsburgh's best bargains. BarkBargains.com.
Allen Events, producer of the country's most popular high-end festivals, returns to Walnut Street between South Aiken Avenue and South Negley Avenue in Shadyside. The 16th annual Shadyside, the art festival on Walnut Street, will be held August 24th and 25th, transforming this popular downtown shopping district of Pittsburgh into an outdoor art gallery with an eclectic mix of the country's top established artists as well as new and emerging talent. Admission is free and open to the public. Showtimes for the Shadyside, the art festival on Walnut Street, are Saturday 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Sunday 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. For more information, go to artfestival.com.
You're listening to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Once again, here's Lynn Cullen.
All righty.
Bump.
So, did you get totally excited about this Hyperloop thing?
Yeah, I'm for anything that makes the world more like Blade Runner. I think that just seems like.
We're talking about this. How do you pronounce his name? Elon?
Yeah, Musk, I guess.
How strange. What is that? Is that a mostly Russianish name? Probably.
Yeah, I guess so.
It was probably Elon Muskovitz.
I should break your transit system.
Elon Musk. And he's serious. And I mean, you have to take this guy seriously because
he has a lot of money.
No.
That means he is wise and good.
No, this one. No.
He did Tesla. He did the Tesla.
He did the Tesla.
And
he did more than
rocket
that.
Ship thing.
He did the rocket ship thing. The Tesla, and there's even something else he did. I forget what. He actually does stuff.
Yeah.
He creates stuff.
Yep. He's an Ayn Randian hero.
Yeah, so he fit.
Just kidding.
What?
We have a call. Oh, there we go.
Hello, caller.
Hey, Lynn and Chris.
Hey.
What's up?
George from
Yeah.
Hi, George.
Hey, I wanted to make a comment about the Heinz thing.
Yeah.
What people they keep on calling it Heinz. It's not Heinz anymore.
Yeah.
Just like, corporations, when they sell the business, they sell the name.
Right.
Like IBM sold its computers to Lenovo, which is Chinese.
Yeah.
Yet they still call it an IBM computer.
Sure.
It's not.
Right.
Chrysler Corporation really has been German and Fiat for the last 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, those are the people who make the decisions. And so I think that people might want to think twice about calling it Heinz anymore.
What should we call it then?
Berkshire Hathaway 3G.
Yeah, 3G.
I mean, that's a bit of a long name, but Berkshire Hathaway and the old codger in Nebraska is the guy now, not H.J. Heinz.
Yeah.
Or any of the family.
Yeah.
But, that's true of almost, General Motors.
That's what's going on.
Well, General Motors, their hugest by far auto plant is in China. I mean, I mean, in terms of the cost of fuel, it makes sense from their business point of view to manufacture the products in these markets that are buying things up left and right because they're emerging markets.
Well, but the point I'm trying to make is not so much foreign production of this.
It's just it isn't Heinz anymore.
But the old names that we give such clout to are gone.
Yeah.
But
they're owned by complete new entities that are not a part of that old style business development and culture and everything like that. It's gone.
Yeah.
And people and the companies are still dealing off of that clout and that cozy feeling you had about that corporation.
Right.
And that's the thing we're going to have to come to terms with. I mean, I don't know how many cases you can go through and see that that's true. I mean, I know that the old MG moniker of classic British sports cars, which are still made in England, is owned by China.
Right.
They own the whole thing. It's a Chinese car manufacturer now. It has nothing to do with the MG thing. And like I said, there's countless things like it. The A&P food chain is owned by the Germans. And so the decisions are not made in New York and in U.S. They're made by owners. They could be U.S.
But
they're not the old company that developed it.
Right. But one of the big things that they're purchasing when they purchase something like MG or Heinz is the brand, the name.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what I mean.
The name. Right.
That's exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
And so I think I'd call it, let's see, Berkshire Hathaway, BH3G.
Yeah.
Forget about Heinz. It's gone.
That trips off the tongue. You can get little pickles. Got little pickles with that right now.
Berkshire slow-moving ketchup.
Yeah. No, it's not slow-moving anymore. It moves at the speed of capitalism.
Hey, so would you now, I mean, you're in the grocery store, would you do you think there are Pittsburghers, I bet there are today, that are not going to buy Heinz?
Dun, 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 dun.
Only the ones might are clued in and are really active towards doing something.
Well, what are you supposed to do, buy Heinz?
95% of people will not think twice. It's still Heinz to them, and that's what.
Yeah.
And that's the way it works for the new owners. They love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you going to do? Buy Heinz? I mean.
No.
Yeah.
It tastes good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for the call, man.
A comment there.
Yeah.
Hey, George.
Thank you.
3G, huh? That's the thing.
Yeah. 3G.
What does the G stand for?
I couldn't think of anything clever. Can you?
No, I'm afraid not.
Okay, that's why you asked me.
Yeah.
All right. So I did not hear this. Did you watch? Do you listen to NPR radio ever?
I hardly.
Yeah. Did you ever listen to Bob Simon? You know.
Well, sure. Yeah.
Because he's very bright and stuff. Yeah.
He's got a name.
Did you hear about him?
No. What happened?
All right. Caller, go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, Lynn. This is Tea Party Dave calling from Pittsburgh.
Hi,
Tea Party Dave.
Hi.
Oh, I was just listening to the last thing you were talking about with the Heinz thing, and a couple big things just came to my mind that I'd like to sarcastically just throw in your face here.
That's called telegraphing a punch, Dave. Go ahead.
First off, Berkshire Hathaway, isn't that owned and run and created by the darling of the left, Warren Buffett?
Yeah, and he's the one who has...
How could he do this? He's loved and beloved by you on the left. Isn't he the one that just goes around and saying, rich people need to be taxed?
Yeah.
All but me, but rich people need to be taxed.
No,
How
he's
could
willing.
He do this?
He is willing to pay more.
And, but not on wealth, on income, because he doesn't have any income. He has wealth.
Mm-hmm.
But how could Warren Buffett do this? Tell me. He's beloved by the left.
Well, I mean, look, this may blow your mind, but there are many of us on the left who, frankly, aren't terribly all that. I mean, will we accept the use of Warren Buffett's money for certain purposes? Sure. Does that mean we feel beholden to him when he does stuff we don't agree with? Not at all. I mean,
but if the Koch brothers did this, you'd rip them to shreds, wouldn't you? Or the Walton family?
We just were ripping Warren Buffett's company to reds.
Rip Warren Buffett to shreds.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to
start doing that.
Yeah,
and while we're at it,
20 minutes of the show.
While we're at it, didn't the Heinz family own Heinz before it was bought by these 3Gs or whatever? Didn't they have
It's a publicly traded company. I mean, it's a publicly traded company.
No, yeah, it was publicly traded. So,
There's
I believe Teresa Heinz had, pretty much gotten out of the business. That was...
Because I look at it this way, that it's a person who sells a company thinking,
it was a
why would they sell it? To make more money.
The stockholders agreed to that.
Yeah, but look, man, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but on the other hand, earlier in this show, we were just complaining about the fact that Cory Booker, a Democrat, was a captive of Wall Street. I mean, I was making that very complaint. So in some ways, I mean, what you're saying is true, but it's not as if anybody on this side of the ideological divide is unaware of the pernicious effect of high finance on American democracy. Or
but we never hear. But you're the first ones to jump on the Walton family, the Koch brothers. Anybody on the right is a greed.
Because
evil,
they are using they are using their money to corrupt the political system in ways that Mr. Buffett does not.
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty hard to argue at this point that there's not it's one thing to criticize the business practices, and we'll criticize business practices of both those groups of people, the Kochs and Warren Buffett both, and I would submit as proof the first 45 minutes of this show. But there is a level at which the Koch brothers have been a lot more involved in affecting the outcomes of elections and waiting. I mean, when was the last time you saw Teresa? When was the last time you saw Teresa Heinz buy an ad to shape the way a statewide election goes? And yet the Koch brothers do it all the time.
No, they can. Aren't they allowed to do that with their money?
They're allowed to do it, but we have the equal right to get on and complain about it and call them out for it. And I think that's what we're doing.
Sure, but while they're at it, you can just mention all the ads bought by, or not those donations by the big leftist corporation, the leftists, like your rip on Goldman Sachs. They're the biggest, one of the biggest Democratic Party contributors.
Yeah, if you think we have
Bain Capital supported the Democrats.
All we do is bitch about Goldman Sachs. Give me a break. Hey, I'm out of time. I got to go.
Man. Take care.
Thank you. Appreciate the call. Always do. I do.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I didn't tell you this, and I know we're out of time, but I read this, and this really creeped me out.
Okay, I'm ready for it.
Okay, so Bob Simon, I guess his NPR host, no, not Bob Simon, Scott Simon.
Scott Simon, yeah.
Scott Simon.
Yeah.
So
the Twitter thing with his mom.
Yeah, you know about it.
Yes. So, you were against this in live tweeting her demise?
I really do think it's odd. It's whatever he wants to do, whatever people need to do, but he was with his mother as she died. And he's tweeting.
Yeah.
He's tweeting, watching Chicago Sox versus Tigers game in ICU with mom, score not improving my blood pressure. Then a little later, I love holding my mother's hand. Haven't held it like this since I was 9. Why did I stop? And then later, Mother cries, help me. Been holding her like a baby since. And then he reports that, she has died. Now, maybe but there is not a more pride. Right. I'm surprised at him. I've been railing against people not making any distinction anymore between private and public. Well, yeah. What is more private than you at your mother's deathbed? And why do you include me?
You can unfollow him if you want.
No, I don't follow. But don't you think? And I'm surprised at him. And then other people said, "Oh, he takes this last, Americans shy away from death and blah blah blah." Well, no, I don't shy away from death at all. Believe me, I don't. If my kid tweets when I'm dying, I will rise from my death and throttle him.
Wow. Yeah.
And you don't react to it?
Is it the sort of thing that I'm going to follow Scott Simon to follow?
So
no,
to each his own.
I think so. And I think, I'm sure, and I'd be very much surprised if his mother didn't sign off on this. I mean, I think if she really
I don't know
had
about that.
I think if she, in fact, now that I think about it, there were some tweets where she spoke to the fact and would kind of address he would tweet stuff that she said to the audience or whatever. So she was very much aware that this was going on.
That's different.
No, I hear your point. There is something a little off-putting about the extent to which these new technologies have allowed ourselves to have blurred this line between public and private. I agree with you. But on the other hand,
the next
how much great poetry has come out of personal loss? How much great journalism has come out of that?
At the moment, he's removing himself from the moment.
Weird. Yeah, that is a little weird. That is the part.
Crazy.
I could not do it.
I'm glad to hear you couldn't. That's nuts.
And now that I know that you don't want that done, I have to find a different cover story for that week. I was really going to cash in, but I guess.
What are you saying? When
when you shuffle off this mortal coil, I really had.
You were going to put me finally on the cover. You creep. All right, we're on. We're done. We are so done.
We're overdone.
Sokolowski tomorrow.
Hey.
Even if he is, what'd she call him?
Pompous. Take care.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.